Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Max, and today I'm going to be doing my review for the Suicide Squad. So this will be my non-spoiler review and my initial thoughts of the film, and then once the film's released, I'll be releasing my spoiler review, where I will talk about the spoilers of the film. So I was lucky enough to be able to get into an early screening for this film. I went with one of my friends. It was a great experience. The AMC theater was great. They handled everything really well with seating and people and all that. And, going into this movie, I really didn't know what to expect. I really enjoyed the first Suicide Squad. I was one of the few who did. Yes, it had its problems, but just the idea of a film like that is so fun, and you can just watch it and be entertained, that I was really excited for this one, especially since James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy, was directing and writing this one. Now, based on the trailers, we really didn't get a whole lot of the film's premise. We got, bits and pieces here, but immediately going into the film, you do get the pacing right away. And something that I liked is we're introduced to the characters a lot sooner than we are in the first Suicide Squad film, where it was kind of like by the time we got through the first third of the movie, you kind of got a grasp on everyone, whereas with this one, you're introduced to them a lot more quickly, so you can start to understand the characters, who they are, why they're in prison, why they're part of the Suicide Squad, and things like that. So I think in general, that was a great choice to make because it allows us to get attached to the characters, which is something I know people didn't really like about the first one, as they felt like we were given these characters and then they were immediately thrown into the situation without much backstory or personal aspects to who they were. Now, this review will be a little difficult just because it is a non-spoiler review, and so much of the film is spoilers. Just everything about this film is a spoiler, so I will start off with my favorite characters. I'm going to say Polka Dot Man was definitely a highlight. As always, I love Harley Quinn. I think characters that returned, like Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, they were as great, if not better, as the previous versions of them that we saw. I actually think all of these characters were elevated a lot. But as far as new characters go, Polka Dot Man, the humor and the story I really, related to, and I felt for him and things like that. But every single character in this film has something that you can, relate to or understand about them or be fearful of them for it. And the way they did it was really smart. Another highlight for me was Ratcatcher 2. This was actually the character I was least interested in going into the film, but I do think her arc is really good, and the time that she has in the film is used extremely well. And something that kind of clicked after I saw the film was how each character seems to be used for a little bit of a different purpose. Just going off the trailers alone, even, you see that King Shark has some of that kind of dumb humor, almost like the Groot aspect, and the Drax kind of goes over his head kind of thing. And then you see, Ratcatcher 2 crying in the trailer. You see Peacemaker shooting people. And I think every character is different enough to the point where, yes, they're all on the Suicide Squad, but they're not taking away from each other's spotlight because of who they are. Now, something I can't get into too much because it is a spoiler is the way the actual squad is handled and the idea of the Suicide Squad. Now, I would say within the first 20 minutes of the film, you really are set up, kind of like I said earlier, for what this film will be. But I think the tagline that went with this film, "Don't get too attached," is very, very much like, keep that in the back of your mind when watching this film. Again, I can't get into things because it's definitely spoiler territory, but there is, the Suicide Squad term is used a lot better in this film than in the first one, because I think the only character that really died in that one was Slipknot, and we got to know him for maybe like a minute before that happened, so nobody really felt anything. But this one definitely elevates everything. The stakes are higher, and something else I liked about this is a lot of the people in the movie, I won't say all of them, but a lot of the people in the movie in general, not just the squad but outside of the squad, are, I would say, technically villains, or there's some sort of good and evil battle going on at all times. And something this film explores is the underlying messages of that. And I do think it was really cool seeing these different perspectives in the film. You know, just even going back to the squad themselves, you have these different characters, like we know Harley Quinn with her past Joker relationship, and Captain Boomerang with his robberies, and Rick Flag's military experience, and just going off characters that we've seen before, like, you know, they all have different backgrounds, and I think they can really add something to the film, and they were used in a great way. So the last thing I want to talk about is the violence. Now, this one is rated R. The first one was rated PG-13, and this definitely deserves the R rating. Like, it is an R-rated film. So in terms of violence and language, definitely R-rated, but it's not to the point where it takes away from the film either. And that's something I was worried about a little bit, actually, is going into this, I was thinking maybe after kind of having the expectation of what the tone was for the first one, I was worried that this one would feel disjointed in terms of a sequel to the first one. Yes, I know James Gunn has said that it's kind of a loose sequel, and you don't need to see the first one, but there are some of the characters that are the same. So you will want some connectivity, and actually in tone, I think it was a lot more like the first one than it could have been. Like, it could have been really different, but it was done in this way that felt like it was a continuation. But no, you do not really need to watch the first one if you want to get a little more background on the characters we saw before: Harley, Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Amanda Waller. You know, you can do that, but you don't need it for this film. And I think the R rating kind of sets them apart even more and lets you experience the two different ways, really, that this film can be done. You have the PG-13 version, which was based more on the, I would say, the group aspect. And then you have this one, which is a lot more of the chaos aspect. So overall, I really liked this movie. The Suicide Squad is definitely one that I'll probably be seeing at least 2 more times in theaters and a couple times on HBO Max while it's doing its theatrical run. I will give it 5 out of 5 stars because I think everything from the action, the comedy, the characters, the writing, the directing, the CGI, everything was incredible, and I hope we get another one of these because I'd love to see which characters they could bring in, which characters they could keep, how the dynamics with those characters would work, and just how the story would continue moving forward. So that's about all I have for now. Thank you so much for checking out my review for the Suicide Squad. If you like it, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.